everybody, and welcome to Topical Tuesday. Today's topic is a large book pilot program that we ran with Thorndike Press. If you haven't muted your microphone already, please mute it while you're not speaking. And please use the Q&A feature today. You're going to click on the triangle, square, circle option in Google Meet and use that. That'll help me keep track of questions. Before I turn the presentation over to Thorndike Press, I am going to invite Vivian Holcomb from Literacy to share with you a training that's coming up. I think you will all be really interested. So let me stop presenting and turn it over to Vivian.
Thank you, Lisa. So good afternoon, everyone. We do have some great, exciting news, I think. There's a PD that we developed this year around discussing sensitive topics as it relates to literacy. We found there really to be a need. We've had a couple of situations where teachers were reading a book to students and some topics came up and the teachers didn't really know how to proceed with the conversation, and so shut the conversation down pretty quickly. And we want to be able to give teachers the tools, right, in a toolbox to be able to have these conversations and know that they're not going to get in trouble for having these conversations, and do it in a way that is developmentally appropriate. And so because we'd had so much of this going on, and knowing with this new adoption, there are going to be a lot more culturally diverse books in the hands of teachers, they may start to encounter more and more of these conversations around racism and gender identity, LGBTQ plus issues. And so we wanted to make sure that our teachers felt comfortable enough to have those conversations and know what was allowed and not allowed. And so we've developed a PD. We're only offering it live because we do feel that you need to be present and have interaction and collaborate with others. And it is around some pretty sensitive topics. And so we didn't feel that this would be something that could just be a recording that teachers could play in the background and kind of listen, right? It's something you really need to be immersed in and kind of living through and talking through. And it gets a little uncomfortable, right? We had some uncomfortable conversations, but it's been really well received. We've done it with a couple of schools already and some of our teaching and learning teams, and it's been really well received. And again, it's just how to have those conversations specifically with elementary kids. We have one for secondary as well, but this one is specifically around elementary kids. And how do we have these conversations with our little guys? What's allowed, what's not allowed, what's covered under the state statute. We've been surprised to hear that many of our teachers didn't even know the state statute existed in our equity policy in our district. And so that's been really eye-opening for a lot of our teachers, knowing that they're protected through that equity policy within our district. And so we are offering this on March 22nd and April 16th. Those are the two dates we have right now. We're looking to get more dates on the calendar, but March 22nd and April 16th, we're offering a morning session and an afternoon session on both of those days. So the morning session will go from 8:30 to 11:30. And then the afternoon session from 12:30 to 3:30. You can register via e-learning. All you have to look up is approaching sensitive topics, and it'll pop right up. There's one for, just make sure in the parentheses it says elementary if you'd like to attend the elementary one, because there's also one for secondary. And they're doing it on the same days and same time as we are. So if you're interested, feel free to register. And if you have any questions, let me know. Lisa, I don't know if you had any questions or if I addressed everything.
I think you addressed everything, and I'm really excited about it. I think I'm going to be signing up myself, and I'm really excited to see some elementary and secondary media specialists sign up for this, because I think we can really help facilitate these conversations on our campuses. That's what media specialists do best.
Yes.
No, I'm excited to share this with them. So thanks for joining us today, Vivian. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sabine from Thorndike Press, and she's going to take it away with our large book pilot.
Well, hello. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me. I'm going to try to make sure I'm going to share my screen first. Perfect. Can everybody see my, oh, it says it's playing on. There we go. Can you see my screen okay? Okay, we're good. I was having some connectivity issues, so hopefully it works out well. So welcome, everybody. I'm Sabine with Thorndike Press. I'm the strategic director for the Youth Large Print line. I'm hoping that every one of you have received a free large print book. So as we chat about this, you actually have a book in front of you or have seen what the books look like, so it'll make a little bit more sense. And I just want to, here we go. So as Lisa mentioned, we have 3 different librarians in your school district that were able to pilot large print. They're all going to share with you their thoughts, their perspective, and what they've seen thus far. So they can give you some insight on how it supported them to engage with their students, improved reading skills, and empowered some of the students that they work with to find some joy in reading and wanting to read, which is fantastic. And then the name of the game is getting these kids to want to read. You can see who's joining us in front of you. So we have some pretty amazing librarians from all different age levels. So we have an elementary, a middle, and a high school. That was intentional so that we could see impact if it varies across age groups. I'm going to start quickly for just a couple minutes to tell you a little bit about why we do what we do and why I'm so passionate about literacy. And I won't talk long because I don't have long to talk. But these are some stats that are in front of you that just get some of the latest NAEP results. Those are from 2019. Probably nothing on here surprising to any of you. Reading skills and reading scores are low. We know that, anywhere from 60 to 70% of our 4th and 8th graders aren't reading at grade level. We know that carries on right through high school. We also know now with the pandemic and the change to virtual and hybrid learning, kids are finding students are having a hard time focusing, less engaged, they're feeling less motivated than they were before. So we know that we have some challenges up against us. They don't know what they don't know. This is something I say often when I talk to educators, is that with your students, they're not necessarily going to know how to support themselves or how to help themselves or how to find resources that would support and help them. And that's why I'm here to share something that is helping students. And this is just I have my screen. I'm pushing off this way because my other screen. This is just to show you the difference between large print and regular print. If you see the books, if you've had the books, you know this yourself. They look the same. We do this so there's no stigma associated with the books. So they are the same size. They don't say large print on the outside, and they have the same covers on them. The only difference is the inside of the book. And that's what's mattering to the students. That's why when they open it up, they feel more engaged. They see it as more welcoming. So it's the added white space, the increased font size. It's even the font style and contrast of ink to paper that make it more enjoyable for us and for the students. And this just tells you a little bit more about it. We make sure that all of our books are unabridged. They're also, they're going to be like high interest, diverse selections. I know we were talking about SEL content. We have some amazing titles that are great conversation starters. So we would really make sure we have a very diverse list of titles, and there's about 600 of them that start about 3rd grade and up. So this is where, that just talks about the titles. This is where I'm going to leave off, and I'm going to let who matters talk to you. So Deb, if you want to go ahead and chat about your experience, that would be fantastic.
Good afternoon. So I worked with Honey Smith, who is a U.S. history teacher here at Gardens High School, with an honors class to read the book Stamped and talk about all of the issues in Stamped. So it's kind of a challenge because 3/4 of her students are not on campus. They didn't come pick up the book, so I took a day and delivered them to make sure that everyone actually had this book in their hands. They're about 3/4 of the way done with the book. Ms. Smith sent out a Google Form survey, and it was interesting that the questions, basically everyone agreed. It made it easier to read the text. It did engage them more. I can send you the specific questions if anybody's interested in it. But the biggest thing is that it did engage them. It was easier to read. They found themselves reading a little bit longer. But for me personally, what I found interesting was that nobody felt any stigma about reading a large print book. And that was also something that the teacher made note of. When I was growing up, my grandmother started getting print Reader's Digest. And so I just always associated large print with older people. So I wasn't really quite sure how, especially high schoolers, were going to react to the large print, but they've embraced it. And I'm really happy to be part of this project and to start ordering more large print books, especially I think I'll see a difference with our struggling readers, but I didn't start there. I started with this class. This teacher's always a willing partner, and it's a relevant subject right now, this book. So it's been a really great experience. I can't say enough good things about it.
Great. Thanks, Deb. And one of the things that I noted when Deb was sharing with me what she was doing with the large print books is that she did work with her teachers. And I always like to share that this is an amazing resource to collaborate with your teachers about. It's a great way for you to advocate for all the wonderful things you do as a librarian, whether going to your teachers and sharing this with them and encouraging them to use it as a novel in their class, or sharing it with, say, your principal, and letting administration know all the great things you're doing to try to improve and increase literacy. And I'm going to move on to, sorry about that. There we go. Shannon, I would love for you to share your perspective on how large print worked with your elementary students.
Absolutely. I had a different approach. I actually bought books for the library, so I went with novels. Traditional titles such as Fish in a Tree, Out of My Mind, that the students were already used to reading and seeing. But then I also used the opportunity to purchase some of the Project Lit titles that we did not have in our library. So it was another way to sell those books. Hype them up in my Google presentation. And then I did display the books, and I love, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, I just took a couple pictures the other day, some of them that were still left, but they love the ease. And especially now with the pandemic, we're throwing books all over the library. We're not allowing the kids to touch them, to pick them up and look at the inside cover or do the 5-finger rule or read the first chapter. So these are part of the problems. And so these large print books were super awesome in the respect that they're nice, clean, white backgrounds, giant font the kids could go through and quickly read in the limited time that I got to see them in my 30-minute rotation. So it really helped to sell the books this year. That was a big thing. I did buy five or six of the crossover. The plan was to get a small, I did a girls group the other day, last year during lunch. And this time I had planned to do a boy group, but my principal did not approve that this year. So I'm looking forward to doing it next year during lunch with some struggling readers. And even the kids that I showed the book to and put the font up next to it, the boys were so excited because they weren't real jazzed about the whole, they were jazzed about the content, but not necessarily about the format of it with the poetry. But when they saw it larger, it made it more appealing to them. 3 quick quotes I'll just show you from my kids when I was conducting interviews after they had been checked out. The one, a little girl took it to like after school, like JCC around the corner. And she said that her friends were like, whoa, it looks like picture book font. So for our kids, it's great because they're used to that large font where, like Deb was just talking about the stigma. Our kids are used to seeing cool, large, crazy, giant fonts. So there definitely was no stigma there. Another little girl, when I talked to her, she said about her mom saw her reading the book and was like, the mom thought it was weird that the font was so large, but the girl was like, no, I love it. I can read it so much faster. So I thought that was cute that she was telling me about her mom. And then I did have one little kid who he struggles academically. And he actually told me that he's like, Miss Culp, I always get headaches when I read for too long. And he said he didn't get any headaches. And I was like, wow, I was just surprised with the depth. A lot of them said it was faster, it was more fun, it was easier to read, but just some of those little stories made a big difference. So I will absolutely, hands down, I don't think there's one single person that said, no, I didn't really like it, I didn't enjoy it, it wasn't good. Would you recommend this to a friend? Should Miss Colt buy some more books like this to the library? Oh, yes. And since then, we've had kids come in. I bought the first one of the Dragonet Prophecies, Wings of Fire, and now like they're waiting in line just to get that copy. They don't want to read the other 4 copies that we have on the shelf. They want the large print copy. So absolutely appreciative of being part of the pilot and look forward to ordering more books. So thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. And what you share about how the students perceived it and how they really enjoyed it, it's what we've heard over and over again. So there is research with Project Tomorrow. It's out on our website where it was across the nation in schools. And overwhelmingly, like 85–90% of the students had said that they continue to read large print, they preferred large print and wanted to share it with their friends. So that's Absolutely. How much they liked it. So anytime we can get kids to want to read and like to read again, I mean, it's a win. And certainly that what you saw is what we see in here often. And then Lisa, I would love for you to share from a middle school your thoughts and your perspective, which is, I know, a little bit different. You're on mute, I think. You're on mute, Lisa.
And I do this all day long, and you think I'm getting used to it. All right, sorry, guys. Hello. I was able to get 25 copies of Refugee, and I have a gifted teacher who's going to be reading Refugee with her students coming up right after the FSA writing test. And I sent a copy to her. I teach her class on campus students, and she teaches remotely from home, so we collaborate together. And so I convinced her this is a great book, and her gifted kids would love to read it. So the 7th grade gifted kids will be reading it. And so I sent a copy to her, and she had never, ever read a large print book before, and she was ecstatic. Now, she's not an older lady like me. She's in her early 40s, and she was elated when she read the book. She said it made it so much easier for her on her eyes. She was able to stay focused. She felt like it really strengthened her reading stamina, and she's equally excited for her students to read the large print books. And she strongly believes it will help with their fluency and their comprehension. And afterwards, I'm going to piggyback on Debbie Speck's Google form questions and ask our students, our middle school students, the same questions that her students answered about the large print books, and if it made it easier for them to read. Were they able to read longer without taking breaks? And then the other 20 or so copies of books that I was able to acquire through this grant, I just purchased individual titles that are out there on the shelf, and I'm looking forward to being able to offer those to our students as well when we are open up and fully available for students to come in and browse.
Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it. I don't really have, I can add lots, and I can say lots of great things, and I can share all kinds of stories and anecdotal things that have been shared with me, and I could talk about the research, but I really felt those 3 librarians and what they had to share is much more powerful. They shared with you how it is, and it has really encouraged students to want to read and find some joy in the reading experience, and it does improve reading skills. What wasn't shared, just so that you do know, we did find with the research that when large print was given to students, reading skills improved 2 to 3 times more than what was expected from them. We had some schools that were Lexile schools. They were, say, it was a group of 5th grade students. They were reading like high 3rd grade. They were given an option of 3 titles that were 6th grade books. They were able to read the books in large print and scored 80% on average on their the quizzes that they took after, so that they were able to even read above what they were reading according to AR and according to their test scores, all because of a larger format. It eliminates decoding issues. It's or lessons decoding issues. It's lessons tracking issues. They're able to be more fluent. Then they're able to comprehend more because they're able to focus on the content in the text. I would love at this point just to open it up to any thoughts or questions that you all might have. And of course, Lisa, share too any thoughts you might have.
So we've got a couple of questions in the chat already. This one's for Deb. Did the high school kids notice that it was a large print book?
They didn't notice until the teacher pointed it out to them and started having conversation with them about that, which I found that was really interesting because they actually had the print book in their hand. When Sabine first showed me large print books a couple years ago, I was like, yeah, all right, but I don't think the high schoolers are going to go for that. So I've been really surprised that they didn't notice it when it was pointed out. Their reaction was very favorable, from agree to strongly agree. And I find now also in conversation that when they read digital books where they have the option to increase the font, many of them are increasing the font. So where I grew up thinking there was a stigma that only my grandmother read large print book, there's been a whole flip on that. So I really can see the benefit. I'm so grateful for Sabine giving me that first book a couple of years ago and pursuing this, because I think it really makes a big difference.
So we also had another question, which is, where do we order the books from?
I guess I can answer that question. Really, so the most cost-effective way and the way that you can maximize your budget is to order direct. If you order, we're part of Gale, so you are able to do that. And I can certainly send out a list of what we have available, and I can even help you curate a list if you need that support. They're also available through all the major vendors. So Follett, Mac, and Permabound, they all also distribute the books. They just don't typically offer any type of discounting.
Are there any other questions we can answer about these large print books? You can feel free to unmute your mic and ask away.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Joanne.
So the books, you said they don't say big print on them or large print. So if we're ordering them, how do we know which ones are the large print books from the vendors?
They'll say large print on the item. So first of all, we only distribute large print. That's all we publish. So if you get a list from me, that's all you have to worry about. It's large print. If you were to say log into Tidal Wave, for example, it'll say large print underneath the title. And you can actually search for just large print. It sounds silly. They have it under classification and genre on Follett, not as a format. If you go there, you can see anything large print.
Any other questions we can answer?
I just was going to say, I noticed it also says it on the copyright page, if anyone's curious.
Yes. Yeah, inside the book, they're always listed. Yeah, very true.
And from the front, they look, totally normal. So.
Yeah, I would absolutely, if you haven't, I would encourage you to go out and grab the regular print book off your shelves if you have it and just do a comparison. You'll see they're similar in size, and I see Shannon's holding up Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Yeah, so you can see that they really do look the same on the shelves. Most schools intershelf them with their regular print collection. Usually they'll do a display right out the gate to introduce the format to the students. Then they just intershelf them. They might put a sticker or something on the spine, so as they're browsing the shelves, when you can see that that's a large print if they have a preference.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know, Lisa, you said there were a few librarians that you thought maybe didn't get the book. If for some reason you didn't get a free book, let Lisa or I know, and I'll make sure to get you one. I did have them shipped out to every library, but in every school. But it doesn't mean there was, I think, over like 180 of them. So, things do happen in UPS. So I would love to get you a book if you didn't get one.
So just let me know if you didn't receive a book, and we can get one out to you so you can see it firsthand. Because I think it's really important that you see it, because it really makes a difference. I can see just by opening it how much easier it is to read that. I wish my textbooks came in large print, just saying. I think it would make it so much easier when I'm struggling to read those books. So if there are no more questions, let me just present now. Please continue tagging us on Twitter. We love to see everything you're doing. You guys are doing amazing things and moving mountains this year. It's absolutely incredible what you're able to accomplish in the middle of a pandemic, and we love seeing it and sharing it. So please continue to tag us on Twitter. If you are looking for points, you can register for our Topical Tuesday course in e-learning. There is only one follow-up this year, and it should be super easy. And I think it's up to about 20 points that you could earn. And our next Topical Tuesday session will be March 23rd. Our topic will be BAM, our Books and Music Festival. We'll be having representatives from Books and Music Festival come join us. And you'll hear so much more about how they have taken their whole program digital this year and how you'll be able to use it with your students even after BAM. And we're really excited to share that with you. Let's stop recording.